A great read. Donald Griffin and yourself obviously talking to one another. Welcome to the show. So you've made a fortune. Well done. The German lawmakers have called the whole Cum-Ex dividend process as the greatest heist in history. The Danes say you committed an audacious fraud. My question to you is, did everything you did, in other words, buying stock, holding stock, claiming tax dividends, acting on behalf of people, was it 100% legal? Was it absolutely by the book?
Yeah, sure. Just to clarify, it was the clients of my company who did the trading. My company was a service provider, but as far as I'm aware, everything that my company did and the clients did was totally legitimate. Legal opinions were obtained from well-respected law firms in many jurisdictions. And this is something that we didn't invent. It's been going on for decades in the banking world.
With that in mind, you know, you say that bankers and hedge funds have no morals. You learned your trade at Credit Suisse, ING, and Rabo. And I want to understand, if it's been going on for decades, what was the philosophy in those institutions? Was it, let's trade this, essentially, a legal loophole until it dies?
Yeah, it wasn't just those banks. It was every bank you can imagine, mainly in London. And it was an industry involving hundreds of people. The banks made money, and they have their corporate governance that requires them to have certain legal opinions and sign-offs and engagement with regulators. And for many, many years, it wasn't a problem, so to speak. It was just another business within the bank.
They never. Do you think that they just never questioned really the legality of it? Because there are challenges against you in terms of the legality of what you did with your clients.
Sure.
Do you think that the banks acted illegally?
No, they couldn't have. They were under supervision by regulators, and they had their own internal policies and procedures that required them to have legal opinions and sign-offs and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, why do you feel that you've been made a scapegoat?
Well, I think, unfortunately, I was an easy target given the amount of money that I made. And I feel I'm, well, initially
How much did you
like
make, actually? How much did you make from cum dividend trading? How much did you make?
I think it was in the region of 700 million, but it's hard to put a figure on it because of currency exchanges and so on.
Okay, but you feel that you're being targeted individually?
Yeah, I feel I'm being targeted, and one of the reasons why is that right from the beginning, the Danish authorities accused me of fraud. That made quite a sexy story. My picture has been in the Danish press over and over again. That being accused of fraud means assets can be frozen by prosecutors around the world. And for the last 2 years, I've been involved in civil action as well. So it just it puts the label to me, which is unfair. And after 5 years, nothing has been proven. And in fact, in the Dubai court, the judge dismissed the claim of the tax authority against me, the Danish tax authority, due to lack of evidence.
Well, can I ask you then, why would you not? I mean, would you leave Dubai if you are, Sanjay, as you say, you know, perhaps you're being made a scapegoat, as you suggest. If you are innocent and you have done everything legal and within the realms of legality, why don't you leave Dubai and go to Denmark or go to Germany and defend yourself and clear your name?
That's a very easy question. It's something called pre-trial detention. So my lawyers in Germany and Denmark, they've said, should I end up in Europe, I could easily get extradited to Copenhagen. I can then be held in a prison cell for up to 4 years before a trial takes place. After those 4 years, they could say, we don't have anything against you, you're free to go. But I would have already been punished. So Denmark would have got their punishment without actually having been successful at trial.
Okay, so that's part of that.
And just to add that, I was more than happy to go 5 years ago. My lawyers told me that I shouldn't go for this reason, and you know, in a way, I don't really have a problem sitting in a prison cell if I can clear my name. But at the time, my kids were young. I didn't know what kind of effect they would have. How they would have been affected if I wasn't around for 4 years.
Okay, and we all depend on lawyers at various times in our lives to give us the best advice. I just want to get a sense here, because you say, look, I did everything legally. I was acting on behalf of my clients, did the trading. I was merely a service provider. But can I ask you this? The Danish Tax Authority, the agency there, say, look, the evidence that supports that real shares were involved in these trades relating to dividend refunds reclaimed by the Shah universe, it looks like paper transactions, no connection to any real holding of shares. So if everything was legal and the shares were held, I know there's a whole variety of ways you can hold the shares, short the shares, buy the shares, create synthetics. I know all the various intricacies of how I can hold stock. They say these were paper transactions with no connection to any real holdings. Do you have evidence? Can you show evidence of paper holding of stock, physical holding of stock, real holding of stock? Do you have that evidence?
Yes, yeah, I have all the evidence, and it was taken by the criminal authorities 5 years ago from my UK office. Now, the issue I have is
so physical stocks were actually so stocks were actually purchased.
Yes, yes. So just on that, there's no definition of physical stocks, real stocks. As we know, stocks and shares are dematerialized, so they don't exist in the real world. There are no share certificates.
No, I understand that, Sanjay, and you can have CFDs, you can have options, you can have a whole myriad of hybrid products that create synthetics on stocks. Excuse me using the word physical. There's no such thing as a physical stock anymore. But you're saying that you actually have full evidence that the authorities already have that your clients bought these stocks in Denmark and in Germany.
Yes. So the issue is that the authorities now have to prove that there was fraud. And I think they're going to find it impossible, because they haven't found anything that proves their case. I think they were hoping that they would find something on my email servers and so on that would show that there was fraud. But they haven't, and it's been 5 years. I don't know how long they need. Maybe another 5 years, 10 years. I have no idea. So I'm just a little bit disappointed.
So if there were physical stocks, if stocks were bought, just give me a flavour then. What was the biggest stock holding that you ever had go through as a transaction? What were the biggest Danish stocks that you held? Because to make 700 million.
Oh, the shareholdings were in the billions, but everything.
What were the names of the stocks? What were the biggest stock holdings?
From the top of my head, it would have been the largest listed companies in Denmark: TDC, Novo Nordisk, AP Moller.
So you could physically prove, if authorities turned up, you could say, right, I can actually prove that my clients physically bought billions of these stocks, yes?
Yes, yes. So the issue where I am is that I don't have to prove my innocence. The authorities have to prove my guilt, and I don't think they can do that. So I think that's why we're stuck, because I don't think they seem to be backing themselves into a corner, but I don't know how long they can take now to close the case. They've spent hundreds of millions. In fact, the irony now is that they've spent so much money on legal fees that if they win, the money that they get from me will just go to cover their legal fees. And the Danish public will end up with nothing. Already $350 million has been spent by the Danish authorities on external law firms.
One of the other gentlemen named in the story that had been charged with Cum-Ex trading, his name's Martin Shields. I suggest everybody, there's a good picture of you on the palm, by the way, in the story there that Donald wrote. It's on the Bloomberg terminal this morning. One of the other names in that story was Martin Shields. He expressed regret. Tax inequality is perhaps one of the single most important things that the world is discussing, and it's causing a great deal of civil unrest and strife. We're in the middle of a global pandemic and a global crisis. Does it still sit comfortably with you, Sanjay, I suppose, is the question. You made 700 million, well done, good for you, you made profit. That's an excellent thing. how you made that profit and the contesting of the way in which you made that profit, does it still sit comfortably with you in today's environment?
Yes, like I've always said, I haven't done anything wrong. If anyone's to blame, so to speak, it should be the Danish tax authority for not closing the loophole. They were made aware of the loophole years before I came on the scene through their internal audits, which is all available to the public. They did nothing about it. They were sleeping at the wheel. An analogy one of my German lawyers
Are you just
has given
smarter?
me is,
If they were just asleep at the wheel, Sanjay, if they were just asleep at the wheel, did you and every other bank in London, as you say, just literally take the tax authorities then to the cleaners?
well, yeah, the barn doors were open. They were told the barn doors were open. People were driving trucks into the barn, taking out truckloads of cash for decades. And it's their bad. There was an opportunity to be had. I'm not the only one who took that opportunity. There are many others. Unfortunately, I always end up in the press. And after 5 years, I think it's now time for me to say, you've had your chance. What happens now? On day one, I did tell the Danish press that I've done nothing wrong, but as expected,
Okay.
no one would believe me.
And I should actually just say, for balance purposes, in 2018, 47 people and firms totaling 12.7 billion Danish kroner, that's nearly $2 billion, were also investigated. So this is not just singularly yourself, Sanjay. You never know, might bump into you in the palm. Sanjay Shah, CEO of Elysium Capital. Thank you very much, sir, for being with Bloomberg today.